There was some stuff to discuss about the CLI and dev platform later, but first we can start with any questions about like breaking changes that were recently merged, or if you're running into issues with Dioxus, that kind of thing.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Sorry. I'm wandering around this office looking for a place to take a meeting. Took me like 5, 6 minutes. Okay, cool. This is going to be fun office hours. Um, there's a couple things to cover. We want to do the command line tool brainstorming stuff today. I think like that's going to be one of the biggest projects of the year. There's just so many features to stuff into it, and now that we're hopefully past the hump of state management, we have like other things to focus on rather than like refactoring hooks and stuff all the time. Obviously, new features going to be shipped with the state stuff, but just a lot of opportunity to do useful DevTools stuff. But yeah, I want to give like a little bit of state of the union, a little bit of update. Have Evan talk about his status, and then maybe like Andrew, Mark, Doge, like you guys can talk about the projects that you guys are working on. Um, kind of just get a status of things and see where we'll be. I think the end of February will be like a good time once everything's like released, blog posts are out, libraries are updated. So yeah, we're gonna jump into it. I will share my screen if I can do that again. Yeah, cool. Hello, and then I think I can show my face. I don't know how to. Cool. Hello. The biggest change so far. Let me switch to Safari real quick. Can you guys see my like GitHub page?
Yes. I can see that.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So the biggest change is oh, we have more pull requests. The ginormous pull request that's been sitting here has been merged. So let's we finally crossed 1,000 closed pull requests too. What, today? Yesterday? Yeah, so we've been sitting on this huge breaking PR. Yeah, this one right here. It ended up being quite a massive amount of work. 17,000 added, 20,000 deleted. We moved some stuff around, so these numbers are kind of inflated, but this was like the huge signals request. We got it done in a month, which I think is really good. Usually, so it was like Jan 5th that it was opened and then closed on February 5th. So yeah, and my experience refactors and stuff don't normally go that fast. So yeah, this is really, really good. We didn't do everything, so I kind of want to give like a call to the community. We still have docs that need to be overhauled. Uh, for the sake of like shipping faster, made some choices to like not stop this PR on certain things. So, for example, yeah, what's currently merged and mastered doesn't actually have docs attached to it on the Dioxus Labs website. You see, it's just 0.4 up here. It's not 0.5. We have the 0.3 version, so we do need to overhaul this. There's still like a lot of content that hasn't been made. We're going to be writing it, but if you want to get involved and you want like, big changes to be shipped with your name attached to it, that would be like a wonderful area to help. Pretty much all of this will need to be updated. There's a pull request open on the doc site that Evan has so kindly been leading the charge on. There's oops, docs. That Evan has been so kindly leading the charge on, where we have updated everything to the new Dioxus. It's a huge PR. I think we should, in my opinion, I think we should either update the doc site here or merge it into master, just like the docs themselves, so it's everything centralized. But if you want to get involved, this is a great place to get involved. Some stuff's been updated already, but we need kind of new things. We've added some new hooks, and we've removed like use state completely. So a lot of this will have to get rewritten. And you guys are kind of like our fearless testing group. Evan, is there anything on the docs specifically that like, because you have this pull request open, is there anything specifically that people can help out on?
Most of the examples are updated. The guide is not updated. So that's kind of pending some changes in mapped signals, which I made a pull request for today. Uh, and then maybe some effect changes as well. But
Okay.
like overall,
All right.
like
Yeah.
reading through the guide would be really helpful. Any areas I missed, or if you have changes you would like to like, refactor in the guide now that we don't have hooks, there might be some restructuring that makes sense as well.
Yeah, and I'm sure stuff like state and stuff. I mean, this is kind of the old version that's going on here, but stuff like state will need to be updated. Um, I kind of think a lot of it is still the same, like in application, like how you would go building things. It's still kind of the same vibes as before, so it's not terribly different. But things don't compile per se with the new version yet. Uh, uh, there's also examples. I was gonna sit down and do this, but I mean, we have the community. Uh, I don't know how people feel about the examples that are currently in the repository. Uh, Me personally, I kind of feel like I've just been tossing them in whenever we run into like weird edge cases or somebody's confused about a thing, it turns into an example. I would love it for the examples to either be clear in terms of like the name when you go to click on them, or clear like when you click on them what they do. Like compose is not a helpful name because this example actually shows how to do pop-up windows. um, so I would love it if someone kind of looked at these, thought or figured out which ones were confusing or poorly named or just not a good fit, and then either change the names or added some docs up at the top. Not every example has docs attached to it at the top. Some of them are just like blanked. I think that one does, but let's see. Yeah, like read size, not super helpful. Like in terms of the name, there's no docs in it that kind of tell you what it does. You have to read the code to get a good idea of what's happening here. And I don't think the code's bad. It's just if I was looking at the examples, I kind of wouldn't know what I was doing. So in terms of polish, I think this is something that the community can really get involved in and just like make better examples. Or if you have made interesting code in your apps so far, anything you can like extract out and put in here that would be useful. We didn't refactor the OpenID Connect demo, I don't think. Maybe. I think it compiles. I don't think it's like kind of updated to the new state management approach. This would be a great place to get involved as well. I know David, uh, I think he's in the call. You have been working on the OpenID Connect stuff. I'm curious to see like what's changed. Oh, okay. How long was I gone? Click the button.
Like 30 seconds maybe. We heard what's
Oh, okay.
changed, and David's working on the OpenID stuff.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Uh, so if there's anything you have new for the OpenID Connect stuff to like update the example, that'd be great.
So
Um,
I'm working
yeah,
on
go ahead.
it, as we speak, but I'm having trouble getting it to work well with the static pre-rendering, and so I'm vacillating there.
Okay, yeah, we should be able to help you out if there's anything like you're getting stuck on. I think we like made the pre-rendering more resilient in the recent pull request. Um, but yeah, we really should update that example though. I think that example is kind of weird in terms of its structure with like the new state management stuff that we have. Okay, all right. Cool. Evan, is there like anything? So you added some stuff today. Is there anything like the community can help get like 0.5 out the door that you can think of off the top of your head?
There's still like some internal hook stuff that needs to change. Mostly, I think what needs to like what would be the most helpful is just like trying to use the Git version of Dioxus. Check the inline docs. There could be areas there where we forgot to update. There's still references to things like scope and hooks. Uh,
Mhm.
Outside of that, I think we're getting pretty close.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Actually, the inline docs, I would say our inline docs aren't great because we kind of put everything in the like website, so like Dioxus. I mean, it's probably good, but a lot of the stuff is kind of outdated. So I don't know if we've updated like the README. Like a lot of these things are ignored. Yeah, this example is not tested. Um, and I think it's pretty easy to run into this stuff as you're using Dioxus that this is ignored and it's not updated with the new version. So ideally none of this is ignored and all of it's tested. So it's kind of like not the most fun work to be done, but it is super helpful because like I don't know, people typically open the docs for their crates when they go to use them, and I would say the Dioxys crate itself probably is not a great guide. Like this is good, I think, as a basics, but there's obviously more that goes into Dioxys than what we can fit on this like little one pager. Or even say good luck. And um, I think like virtual DOM is kind of well documented in some ways, but like not everything is. Um, yeah, the ETA on all this I think is about 2 weeks. Hopefully less than that, maybe more. It kind of depends on what other little details we want to get in. So there's a bunch of new PRs. The most interesting one I think is the plugin system. That's kind of waiting on some Git stuff, like us rebasing, squashing, fixing like commits there. And then there's a bunch of stuff that's in draft that would be really nice to ship. I don't know if Exotic is here, but these kind of things would be nice to get in. That way we can just like clear out the pull uh, list. Yeah, external links. Okay, yeah. Ideally, I don't know if anyone wants to write tests, but some stuff is hard to test. Like this kind of stuff is hard to test in CI. Um, like this kind of stuff is tough because it has to run a headless desktop, or I guess we spawn a window, but it has to run a desktop window, and then we have to like coordinate action between apps. And these kind of PRs are like annoying to have to make a lot because we tend to break stuff like this between versions. And the examples kind of serve as a place for us to test these things before we release. But it would be really nice if we had some sort of testing framework for desktop, for web. I think we have something for web, like the Playwright stuff, that we don't have to keep making these little pull requests every time we want to do a release. Usually there's like the first two versions of Dioxus after the initial release that is like fixing these kind of little things. Um, and I think the theme of point 5 is polish, like getting things as polished as possible. That way we can focus on other areas of the project. And I don't want to have to keep revisiting stuff like this. So if anyone also wants to work on that, there's many opportunities abound to prevent these kind of little bugs from slipping through. Um, I, I think that's it. Does anyone have like questions or like areas they want to get involved in or pieces of the project? There's the Dioxys STD that probably needs to be updated. I kind of don't know the status. There's a couple pull requests. Yeah, 0.5 support. So there's like a number of things in the ecosystem that need to be updated. There's like material icons. If we can drag all this to the next version so it's ready for release, that would be fantastic. Um, so yeah, does anyone have questions or places they kind of want to get involved in? Yeah, is the template repo updated with Legos? Probably not. Charts. No, yeah, probably not. These are all gonna be broken. It would be in my ideal world when we release versions or release candidates, it would automatically go ping all the repositories that are dependent on Dioxys that or like libraries mostly, not people's projects that a new version's out and here's like the migration guide. I think would make it a little bit easier for people to pick up libraries that are like a version out of date. Yeah, so the template repo as well. I have a personal list of things that I would like to ship in point 0.5, like small little bugs and tweaks and stuff. There's a couple issues specifically that I care about. Again, if you want to pick them up, they're not that big, but they are helpful. The 1907, I I don't exactly know what's going on here. This should work. Probably has something to do with delegations. Probably pretty small. The git ignore thing's also probably pretty easy fix to go to the new one. The global handlers, if people kind of want to get involved with desktop, there's a lot of interfaces that take like a impl fn mute, which actually should just be this like callback type. This is going to be fixed by the thing that's open. What I run into when I do a lot of dog fooding of Dioxus and messing around is where's the text? I don't have it here. Well, it's one of these issues. Oh yeah, formatting infrastructure. We write strings as strings. It would be nice if we could get them as expressions, because Rust Analyzer will actually, like, if you rename a variable, it will rename it inside of the string. Like, it has that support now. So this is kind of like the small stuff. I have a whole list of these things that I'll post in the chat afterwards, that are like easy polish related items that are good contributions and will just make 0.5 a lot better. Okay. Yeah, and then the Rust format support. Yeah, in terms of like breaking changes going forward, we're not gonna for the foreseeable future, I don't want to touch state management. I think this is it. I mean, I say that we don't release hugely breaking stuff that often. There wasn't that much breaking between 0.3 and 0.4. There was some stuff between 0.2 and 0.3, but for the most part, stuff has been stable for a while. We did like overhaul the router quite a bit in one of the versions, but other than that, things haven't really changed. I don't want to say we're at like 1.0 status right now. I think if we are happy with core, like the Dioxus core crate for like 2 or 3 versions, I think maybe we can just like land at a 1.0. Obviously move to a 2.0 if we end up breaking it, but I think we can keep the core stuff as slim as possible to be able to stabilize that. And then that means hooks and stuff will work between every version of Dioxus going forward that stays on that 1.0. Kind of the challenge right now is like Dioxus charts and Dioxus radio and Dioxus STD. They all rely really just on like the core bits of Dioxus, and that moves forward. And we don't need to move that forward as much anymore. The renderers need to move forward. They'll float in versions, but the core stuff can stay the same. And we've put some effort here. So there's a new crate now called Dioxus lib, wherever it is. I assume it's in here. Did we end up shipping that? Oh yeah.
Yeah, the Dioxus lib exists.
Not a great name, but it solves the problem of it just brings in core stuff that's not going to move that much. The goal here is to bring Dioxus lib to a stable version. That way, if you're going to build a new hook or new state management thing, it builds on top of this. So we'll see if it survives into 0.5. For the 0.5 release, I think it will. And then if it does, this will be like the stable thing that you target. You can also just target Dioxus without like the features, but it brings in all the renderers now, which means we're going to be moving this crate forward a lot more frequently. Even if it's not like super breaking changes, it just means if you build something for Dioxus with no default features, like even though core will be fine from version to version, the renderers will move in terms of their APIs, and you can't really build on top of that technically in terms of cargo and semver and all that, because I always choose the most up-to-date version of Dioxus to solve that. I keep opening Discord.
Possibly at some point it might not make sense to have the Dioxus crate pulling in the renderers. Like I know React, like you have to pull in React of the core and React DOM separately if you want to do web, and if you want to do native, you have to do React Native separately. Maybe Dioxus lib can just become Dioxus at some point.
We ended up remerging the renderers back in this release. They were split out, so it was like Dioxus, and then you imported Dioxus web desktop. The primary motivation for rebundling was so the command line tools could pass like versions, or sorry, like platform flags into the renderers, like the downstream renderers, without having you to configure it. Maybe we'll do Dioxus core and that will like be the hooks or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, like the React ecosystem is like you bring in the renderer. At least the launch stuff that we added, wherever that is. This is agnostic, so you can actually like Freya could take advantage of this. I don't know if Freya would want to, but Freya could pass in a custom launch function into the builder, and you could like take advantage of all the config and command line tooling kind of automatically. So this will pass off things like hot reloading and some props and stuff like that. So it's extensible, but the way we have it plumbed right now is web, desktop, mobile, full stack, and TUI are all under the same like top level crate. Maybe this would be like Dioxus full or something like that, and we just keep Dioxus as Dioxus lib or something.
Yeah, I don't know. It's all a bit of a trade-off, and I definitely like to see how it plays out, can't you? But yeah, but it sounds like actually the core bit is looking fairly stable in
Yeah.
theory.
we we did remove some stuff. At least the signal stuff is like a layer on top of core. Like it's not actually in core. Um, and all the generational box and all that is like a layer on top of core. So it means in theory core can be more stable. Obviously it's breaking between these two versions, but in theory core can be a lot more stable. Cool. I think next order of business is like just talking about the command line, kind of what we want it to do, the changes that it's going to have to go through this year. There's a whole bunch of stuff, TUI versus GUI, all the specifics. Before we do that, if there's like any final questions about status or state of the union, um, things people want to get involved in, we'll take them now. Okay, all right. I'm assuming no questions. Let's do let's do this command line stuff. So there's been a very active channel in the command line chat. Let me scroll up. Yeah, so there's a bunch of stuff that we've kind of been talking about. We really want to overhaul. I think this is going to be like the big project for the year now that this big refactor is out of the way. The big project for the year. This maybe some deploy stuff, the component library, native if we get to it, like a bunch of different things. But the command line tools is kind of the best opportunity we have to really improve the user experience when like building cross-platform apps in Rust. Right now, honestly, it's not so bad. So if you like do a desktop app, you can just cargo run for the most part. But now that we're adding new things like asset management or hot reloading, you can't really do that with the default Rust tooling. Hence why the command line tool exists. Originally, the command line tool started just as basically like a trunk equivalent. So it really only did web. I haven't looked too deeply at the command line tool code base in a while. I think Andrew's been running into it. Some projects just grow and grow and grow, and nobody kind of sits down and like builds out the skeleton of it. And I think that's kind of where the command line tool has ended up in a sense. It's probably better than I'm giving it credit for, like the code base there, but it is definitely a project of various competing interests over an extended period of time. So it definitely started just as web, and now it does a lot more. And we also have consumers of it. So like Mark, I'm fairly sure Freya taps in to the command line tooling, so we kind of have to keep it consistent as well for you. I think hot reloading is broken. I don't know if that's a command line tool issue or if that's like a code issue. I think hot reloading works at least with the Dioxus renderers, but I don't know if it works with the Freya stuff at the moment. Yeah, there's some stuff that's not running. So there is kind of a bunch of things we should brainstorm or talk about. Let me open Ocean. Just tiny list, but I think which one? Let me open Discord as well. We can put it side by side. We can see what you guys have to say. I'm gonna make this bigger. I've been drawing CLI upgrade. Oh yeah, I was drawing some stuff. I was like on a bus at some point. I was like putting stuff, uh, just like what the TUI would look like, and kind of experimenting with it. I didn't really find. So I think the biggest question right now is like TUI or GUI. Um, I was trying to draw up some like what a TUI would look like, and then like prototype it out. And I'm pretty sure like Doge, you've been kind of looking at the same thing. Uh, we should talk about it now before we like commit to one render or the other. I think that's probably like the first thing to solve. The the biggest reason we would do office hours, the biggest reason we would do uh, a TUI is because like you just write Dioxus or dxserve and then it works, right? There's like no windows you have to open. There's no styling. It doesn't look weird or different on every platform. It's just like a text-based interface. TUI or GUI. But it does limit what you can do in terms of like all of the features, icons. I think some of the stuff we want to do is like previewing of assets or previewing of components, and that is harder to do when your primary interface is just text. I think great inspiration for this project is the Next Devtools. Yeah. These are really cool. This is kind of like the big thing that's come out of Next recently. It is like a graphical interface specifically, and it gives you a bunch of tooling like on this left sidebar, and we can match a lot of the tooling. So things like where are your components in your code base? Like we can do that. So the component macro is able to export all that metadata. A router specifically, so like a next features. Do they have a screenshot? Wow. Okay, this is shifting. Um, a next DevTools feature is like listing all the routes in your app. We can do that as well. So like the router has the ability to export all that metadata. So we can do things like server functions, router, like Postman kind of built into it. Like I don't want to like make the scope of this too big in terms of like what the first version is, but there's really just like an infinite future of what's possible here. It would be really, really cool to get that in a TUI form, so you don't have to open any new windows. It's just there when you serve. But I think the complexity of that type of project is challenging, in doing that in just like a text-only interface. Yeah, a little bit of feedback, or like if anyone has like points or arguments, good or bad points for like either way.
Another option that Brio uses right now is it embeds it within the window. So like Mark has been working on DevTools that automatically pop up as part of your like desktop application. You don't have like a separate
Mhm.
window or TUI at all.
Or let's into the window. That would be interesting.
There are definitely
Would you?
parts you would want a separate window for, like the route stuff, but for like
Mhm.
logging, that would be really useful.
And that would just be like an overlay kind of approach.
Yeah, kind of like a DevTools you get in Chrome, but like specific to Dioxus.
Oh, I get the DevTools attached notion. Yeah. Oh, huh. That would be interesting. Yeah, because this could be in any window. I mean, it would be a little bit challenging with like multi-window stuffs, and like it wouldn't really apply to TUI, but it would kind of apply to everything else. I'm thinking this frame, like what is rendering here, could be like it could pop out in its own window, right? How does DevTools work?
There's definitely a way to do that, but also remember the button.
In Safari, there is. I don't know if doing it through this like web view thing works.
I think maybe the very left button. No.
We could use Frey. Oh, you're showing what Frey does. Yeah. Actually, it's a very interesting idea because like we can hijack the web, we can hijack desktop, we can hijack mobile, or we can like make mobile its own like separate window. Embedding is harder if you target non-web renderers. Yeah, that's kind of the challenge. One workflow I do a lot. I have command space is raycast, which is like a Spotlight equivalent on Mac. I hope you can see it. Yeah, I think you can see it. But I have alt space to iTerm, and it's super useful just to like open and close. So like you're running an app and you kind of like want to look at something and then you close it. It's just so easy to open and close. Um, it's not saying you can't do it with a GUI theme. I think Notion also has, I don't know what the key bindings for this are, but you could like learn the key bindings. You can use Chrome Devtools. Yeah. We also have window placement on desktop. So you can like place a window next to another window, like that is feasible. So you could press a button and then like DevTools pop up to the side, or embedded. Maybe for desktop, we could do like embedded, and then everything else is kind of like pop out, or web as well. So it's like DevTools. It would be useful if in VS Code, if I have VS Code open, to have like a panel here. So my terminal is on the right. If you can see it, my terminal is on the right, and that's like Command J to like open and close. If we did a remote DevTools, it could be just like a pane here, or like you get output, debug ports, all this stuff. This could be like a web view, but you probably wouldn't run it like that. We kind of want to like start with what is the shell of it? Like, what does that look like, Andrew? In terms of, we're gonna have to build this. Obviously, like features and functionality is separate from like UI. So a lot of this can be implemented in the easiest approach first to be able to iterate. So like desktop might be the fastest way to iterate on this, as long as like the code is reusable from renderer to renderer. If there's like the option of doing both a TUI and a GUI. I say that's okay, but it is like more work. I like one will obviously come before the other. Like the project's not like dependent on one to ship the other, so the easier one will probably get shipped first. And that will probably be the desktop thing or the shell. Yeah, I think so. The TUI renderer is a little, it's not quite an HTML. It's not like the web browser. So like layout, I mean layout is similar. But to get like style sheets and Tailwind and stuff working, we kind of actually need to do the Stylo Dioxus project that has to be like merged into TUI. In terms of styling the UI, it probably won't be the same. If it's like kind of more of a live view-esque thing, like a desktop that's rendering into a remote view, I don't know if we really support that at the moment. You could do it. It's like basically live view. But if we do something like that, then it could be an embedded window, or it could be a pop-out window. I think the biggest thing, the most important thing there is just making it like keyboard driven and quick to access. So like when you type dxserve, being able to like open like tools easily is important. Kind of an issue with like reloading a page. Let's open just like GitHub for a second. If you reload the page, you also need to reload the DevTools. This is just like a thing because the URL is like bound to the stuff on the page. Yeah, and then like there are like DevTools extensions. Like you could put like Dioxus as a DevTool add-on here. I don't know how many people use this in terms of like web stuff, but yeah, in theory, the command line tool could render into this like widget box as well. Just web. Can they talk to like local hosts? Hmm. Do you get Next DevTools in the extension? Do you know? Or is this just the desktop app? Yeah, because I don't know, doing it just as an extension means it doesn't work for desktop. It'd be nice to like have it like we'd have to like bounce the data between the two.
I feel like something that is like kind of pushing all of the actual data that it's showing over some kind of network protocol is probably going to be a good idea long term. Means that you can like kind of decouple where it's rendering from what it's debugging, right? And so that means you can put it in the same window, in a different window. You can, couple it up to a mobile view if you want to, that's running on a connected phone or whatever. Kind of probably a bit of a pain to do it like that, but yeah, I don't know. It's what all the browsers do, isn't it? And it kind of does make sense.
Yeah, I think we need to do that. The live view model is probably good enough for now of where like the UI is being pushed across the wire rather than like the state itself. But I think the longer term is some version of the state is pushed across the wire. That way like anyone can tap into it. Right now the command line tool needs to do things that it's not, kind of like profiling the virtual DOM, watching tracing spans, aggregating that, watching async tasks as they pull, stuff like that it's not doing. And we'll need to expose some of that. No. Where's the protocol? Does the DevTools protocol work across like Safari? No, Safari. I think Safari might have been updated to it. Yeah. Okay. All right. I think for now we'll settle on like a desktop-esque experience, ideally that we can like embed. We'll do some like Flutter thing, or not Flutter thing, like basically desktop. Like we can stream the edits and whatever into like any container. I think for now, basically just a desktop app. I don't know what the flow is like when you like DX serve. Does this open the DevTools, or do you need to like come up here and open DevTools?
I would not like to launch the DevTools from a GUI. If you could do it from cargo run, that would be even better. If you could have like the renderers reach out and check if you have DevTools installed and you're in debug mode, maybe automatically launch it embedded or it's like a side window.
And you think they should be like enabled right when you run your app?
I think there should be something that says it's there. Maybe not like a full pop-up window, but maybe a button on your app or something.
Like a little magic tool thing, or like we kind of put a we could do like a kind of a terminal thing. Like there's a little banner at the bottom that is like the DevTools or something like that, and you could like move it around or hide it or pop it out.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah,
I think embedded
I think
wouldn't be
so.
too much more difficult for desktop and web and live view, For TUI, it's probably not worth it. And it could be in like a separate window.
Yeah, for TUI, we'll have to separate window. Okay, yeah, we'll iterate on like how you access it. I think that's kind of one of the important flows here is like when you launch your app, how quickly can you get to your tooling? And then as long as it doesn't like shut down when you hot reload is important. Okay, in terms of like features, so I think this is like also been one of the important things. Right now, currently, let me just open DX. Wait a second. We have a bunch of stuff. So before, a long time ago, the command line tools actually used to power the VS Code extension, meaning you needed the VS Code, the command line tools installed to do the VS Code extension. And it would just break if you didn't have it. That has changed these days. We like build a WASM bundle and put that in the extension, but there's still a lot of tooling that they share. So like the translate, auto formatting, you have linting and checking and stuff like that. But there's like a million new features. So I kind of want to think like what is missing today from like the normal flow? What is like the overhauled V1 of this look like? And what is like the longer term version of this look like? If you guys have ideas of either of these three categories, like just like dump them into the chat and I'll throw them into the doc. Yeah. For logging, like adjusting the log level and like span locations on the fly. Yeah. Interactive. Yeah, interactive configuration would be cool. There's just like being able to set up public directories or kind of all the like the 12 different things you need to do, and not having to hunt through the settings to figure that out, just like making that an interactive experience. Plugins. Vite is a really, really cool project and it kind of has been taking over JS in terms of like people building on top of Vite. And I would really like it if we could do, I honestly don't know the design of Vite in and out, but it would be really nice that the command line tool could expose that. There's like the module graph. I mean, there's a million things we could expose. So components, routes, bundles, assets, these are things that could be exposed to plugins and it would be great to have that. So like Tailwind would be attaching to like all the class names or something like that. And that is something that we can export. A big reload button. Big reload button moment. That is a big reload button.
Oh, I'm thinking,
built-in
can we parse the arrow information from the kernel and like add some for Dioxus the recommendation, like give them the documents page, like for the use, like for the state use, they have some arrow and we can parse the arrow information, and it's not just for the Rust recommendation. We can give some like Dioxys documents for them.
Yeah, I think there's like two things there that are interesting. So it's like cargo.toml linting, I guess. It's kind of what that is, but it's also like config flags based on the project. So like right now, dx run serve, I guess serve you have to pass a platform. But if you only have like one platform enabled in your cargo.toml like web, we should just use that platform. Like it should just be dxserve, and like default behavior is for us to assume that your platform is. And I get tripped up a lot. I'm like sometimes confused why Tokyo is being compiled, and I'm like, oh wait, actually, it's because I have to pass platform. So this being automatic would be really, really nice. I don't know all the edge cases. And then like hot reloading. What kind of like feature flags were you thinking about? You can.
I think the platform will load from the Dioxus to the config file, so you don't need to give the flag.
Automatic.
Yeah, I think it's already to how do you say?
Yeah, I have a couple longer term features. I'll put them in. So like the next thing is like finding component and then like mocking component. I don't know if this could be a macro or if this could be automatic or something like that, but being able to kind of like to your point, Nico, is like modify state from outside the app without having to reload the app is useful. You can really only do it with macros in Rust, or if things are serialized. Like modifying running state is possible. And I'm sure there's some solution. I'm sure you could put like a use signal and it's like a live, like this could be a value. If we could make this mockable or something like that. Or we like try, you know, we rewrite your code when we go to run or something like that. But being able to like drive data would be nice. Bye, Mark. Testing. Yeah. I think this is also one of the important things. We don't really have like a jest or anything. I don't know what the interface would look like. There's some library someone made. I forget. Was it like Sweet or something like that? No, Evan, you probably remember.
Yeah, it is sweet.
Yeah, Sweet integration. Uh, being able to make like drop tests somehow with some like builder interface would be interesting. Multi-platform config.
Screenshots or like snapshots for every component would also be really nice in the editor.
Yeah. Using the CLI in CI or like CI/CD testing, snapshots, metrics, etc. I feel like we probably don't support this very well at the moment, like using the CLI in CI. But that would be super useful to be able to like add the Dioxus CLI into your GitHub action and generate things like component screenshots or testing or just like the million things you need to do in CI. And right now we don't really have a good story for that. That would be useful. Yeah. Using the CLI UI to develop the CLI UI. End-to-end tests are most important for your projects. There's some like AI stuff we've been batting around, thinking about kind of like walking through the app for you and running into edge cases. We could do server functions. Those need to be exported. Server function profiling and Postman like testing would be exciting. So if you could just like look at all your server functions and then send like requests to those and just see what happens. That'd be super useful. Do we do WASM-opt right now in the CLI? Okay, we do WASM-opt. Is that a plugin or is that built in?
There's
It
some
will need
dead
to be.
code for it, but I don't think it's running.
Okay, all right, WASM. And other optimizations. Can we generate an open API spec for the server functions? Is that like a thing that is feasible? Maybe. It would be really cool if like all the server functions.
Kind of know the types. We kind of know the types. We know the routes. We know the endpoints and the like encodings. I'm
Mhm.
not sure what information you would need to generate that spec.
There's one project that does it, right? Rest open API spec. Is that Salvo that does it? I just want to like look. Yeah, oh, API. Use. So they have schema, and then they create the, and they just do it from the router. Okay, all right. I think it's feasible. It would be really cool if the command line tool could spit out an open API spec for like Python and JavaScript and Go, or like you could like create those packages automatically. Not important for first version, of course, but like things you can do with server functions that are unique. Oh, poem, yeah. What else? I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff. Oh, assets and op levels. Yeah, plugin manager. I'm definitely curious what all the like plugins are. So like we need a Tailwind plugin. Kind of just the thing that walks the module graph. I don't know if there's like any even concept of plugins in the Rust ecosystem that we could even like plug into, so to speak. I think the best we can do is like get inspiration from Vite, and just see how they structure it, and then I guess like hope people build on top of it. Sass. Oh, scopes CSS. That might be a Sass thing, but technically the new asset framework does this. I think. At least it will suck up your style sheets and put them into the head of your document. I don't think we do like minify or obfuscate or anything like that.
Do minify CSS now. Tailwind plugin is built, and the plugin system is pretty close to being done. There's a bug in WASM time that we're kind of waiting on right now, but the Tailwind plugin is working.
Oh yes, deploys that's high on the list, and then yeah, and the Tailwind plugin's working. I should go look at the API. I'm assuming the plugin API is like designed for the future, but it'd probably be good to make sure it is. Oh, and then like installing plugins from Git would be interesting. I don't know how that would work. Is there a way to just like random tangent? Is there a way to in RSX to allow passing an option to an optional props? Nice. Yeah, you should just be able to pass some or none, or you like can omit the optional. Some command, I think you can just wrap this in. There's something in the guide that talks about this.
I think that is only in the Git version if it's a component.
Oh. Oops.
And then the published version, you need to do like into option instead of the default, or not optional. That part is definitely in the guide.
Yeah, there's a not optional, something like that, right? That. Okay. Yeah, so deploy would be interesting. I think kind of like the long-term vision here is like we have our own deploy infrastructure, but I don't think that should stop us from adding a deploy command that makes it easy to get on uh, GitHub or Vercel or Amazon or something like that. It would be really cool to get it on Fly, like DX deploy Fly or something like that. Oh, props not optional. Yeah. Inspiration for UI. The Nux Devtools are pretty. The React ones are okay. Oh yeah, shuttle. I mean, DX deploy to shuttle would be cool. UI inspiration. I don't know. We kind of need a designer, I guess. I'm trying to see how far we can get with that one. uh, Doug's pretty good at being our designer at the moment. I like the vibe of the next Nux Devtools. I don't want to like rip them off completely, but I do kind of like the vibe, like clean. Yeah, we're not paying you, Doge. You can't eject shuttles ecosystem. Yeah, I think we should figure out like what our first deployed target would be when we eventually get to this. I mean, there's like things I want to do of like the infrastructure as code stuff, but that's more of just like a side project for me than it is things that need to be in the command line. Like it'd be really cool just be like declaring a SQLite table in your code and then it works on whatever platform you deploy it to, but you know, that's more of a longer term vision than stuff like getting WASMobbed in the command line tool.
We know like how much RAM server-side Dioxus tends to use. 'Cause, like one of the things that's been really nice about some of the other Rust backend stuff that I've done is that it uses like nothing, by which I mean like I don't know, maybe like 50 megabytes or something, which is nothing in terms of cloud server terms. When like I think the smallest thing I've been able to find is 256 megabytes. But it's kind of a nice selling point if like you can just use a super cheap instance, because you don't need any RAM compared to say like a Node solution or something.
Yeah, yeah, and then there's also compute time, and it's like way shorter on compute time. It's almost like 100 audios. It's like almost 100 times cheaper if you're running on server functions where you're priced by RAM times time, or sometimes like even up to 1,000. Like it's a lot faster or a lot cheaper. Dioxus, similarly small amount of RAM consumption. I think the older version might have consumed more. There are a couple memory leaks here and there. We have no more memory leaks because we stopped doing stuff with the bump allocator. Yeah, it should. I mean, it should be low. Probably less than 15 megs is kind of what I've seen for just like basic apps in terms of like the Dioxus bits and bobs. There's still stuff like the for the desktop renderer that has a cost to it, but server side is really cheap in terms of like overhead. And we do templates, so like we don't even make most nodes. Most nodes are just like embedded into the binary, so you only pay the cost in terms of like loading the binary up, which is usually pretty small.
Something on my list to try it out for some of my websites.
Yeah. I think especially the next version will be good. Well, we kind of get like server components for free as well with some of the stuff we're doing. Like you can serialize elements from server functions. That's basically server element, like React server component. Um, yeah, the next version will be interesting. I don't think we've explored everything we can explore there. Okay, any more crazy ideas for the command line tools before we like wrap this up? And we should like sort these into what we want to do first and stuff that we want to like punt till later. Like any more wacky ideas? Oh yeah. Installer, updater. The Axo folks have done some work on this. Take my grade. I think Exo Yeah, they do. This is like a new platform. Ashley Williams, I think, is working on this. I don't know if we can use it for our stuff. Cargo Dist. I don't even know if we use Cargo Dist, but we might be using Cargo Dist. So, and they have some auto update stuff going on. Zero to 4 to 0 to 5 would be hard to auto migrate. Oh yes, Doge. Reverse tunnels. So reverse proxy tunnel SSH. You can share your running app with other people. This is interesting. And you could even, in theory, it works with other renderers. Oh yeah, this is something. Is this using the new version of Dioxus? No. Yeah, I need to look at this. Yeah. Kind of just like a general thing is we need, Vlad, we need like easier tools to do releases. It is just a hassle release. We have like 30 crates. Let me Dioxus just we have 38 crates in this repository. So it is not easy to release. This needs to be automated so we can like release faster. Yes, yeah. In the last version we did that, so it should be faster. You still have to go through
That'd
each
be as
crate.
simple as just like a bash script that like runs cargo publish in each directory.
Yeah, you have to do it in the right order. Because if like Dioxus relies on Dioxus core needs to be uploaded before Dioxus. I did write a script for that like walks the tree and then does it in the right order. Uh, but yeah, not as simple as going through alphabetically and like uploading each. Okay, all right. Before we go, I think we should kind of like set a target of what we want in the like first version of this. I put everything into version 1 or 0.1. Probably move the deploy stuff. And then profiles. I think serve being automatic is important. Logging, config editor, yeah. The config editor, I think depends on how hard it is, but I think it would make a lot of sense. The cargo edit, TOML edit crate is really good, and I think we can build something around that. Performance, built-in guides. Move server functions. I think the plugins will be over here. It's like the plugin project. Profiles. Big reload button. Doing logging will probably require better instrumentation in a number of places with tracing, which is a fun project if people want to like step into that. You kind of get to explore the code bases and you get to like just write tracing logs everywhere and then see them get bubbled up into the command line tool. So it'll be fun. Profiles auto. I think for like it just being automatic is like dxserve should automatically choose the target if it can, and then turn on hot reloading if it can. hot reloading, in my opinion, should be automatic in dev mode. So, like, you can choose to disable it, but like that's kind of weird with features being additive. Yeah, I can manage it there. Okay, I think this is good. Oh, and then I'd like to rename, just make naming more consistent with cargo. So cargo run, DX run. I don't know about this one. Maybe. Like run kind of implies that it's not going to hot reload on you. Cargo init, DX init, cargo new, DX new. We have clean, we have check, cargo format, I think is a command. Yeah, so we have format. So yeah, there's just like the two that are weird. Watch. Maybe watch. Yeah, ideally the template, once DX is like updated, you can just like drop in the DX instead of cargo as your like primary runner. Like it's just cargo, but with like commands and stuff. Meaning you can kind of just use cargo run and things work, like cargo run a WASM project, and you get, in your browser it works as long as you use like DX init and you set the flag that, yeah, let DX be your cargo runner. I don't want to like hijack cargo too much, but it would be really cool that just worked, and like you could click run in your editor of choice and it like spawned Devtools and all the stuff you needed to do. Because like right now, if you try to run a WASM project, it just won't run. It doesn't know what to do. More templates. Oh, setting up directories. Flags for you. I think Cargo Run, a desktop app, is like the coolest thing ever. You can just like download it, install it, or like you just add Dioxus to a project and then you just run and it works. Which is why like we should be able to operate without the config file being like present in a number of things. So all of these features should be additive. But like when you do WASM, like what are you supposed to do? Like cargo doesn't work. So you kind of do need DX in a number of other like, platforms. Yeah, hot reloading. I think it makes sense to leave hot reloading as like a command line, it's DX only thing. Yeah, I would love to be able to do more refactoring type work. So like refactors, like IDE integration. This stuff does live in the command line, but it is great to expose it to the VS Code extensions. So things like convert RSEX into a component for you automatically would be nice and totally feasible. So yeah, like a big component, you want to refactor it out and it just does that for you. React has that kind of stuff, which is nice. Showing like the capture, like reactivity captures. If we have that information, we can tell you that a callback or whatever is capturing signals and those signals will be read. That's totally feasible. In like hover lens or previewing components. And I guess like storybook integration is also part of this. So from the command line tool, being able to like preview a component would be fun. Hover lens or running serving project. And then logs populated to lenses. Like Code Engine. Yeah, I saw a cool thing on Twitter. It was like you have a tracing log and like the actual result of the tracing log shows up in the like editor that you're using here. Well, yeah, this console log and like the data is here next to you. So this would be pretty sick if you could like add tracing and it like bubbles back into your editor. This would also be cool that we could annotate components with like extra metadata. So like if you hold down a key, you can see all of the like the performance metrics. Would be pretty neat. Oh yeah. Fix format with yeah. Kind of struggle with formatting just Rust code, but it's for chains. Thanks, Nico. Okay, if there's anything else, oh, yeah, this I don't know why it's the commas there. I think there should be quotes. Yeah, I need to run. I will share this and put this into the chat, and then you guys can like comment on it and add new features, or like I'll add it, and then we'll kind of like publish it in our roadmap. Cool. If there's anything else, can you guys like bubble it into the command line? Oh, Tailsman. Okay, great. Thank you guys for showing up. Good meeting.
Oh,
Very productive week.
can I get
Yeah.
can I get the like the link for this Notion? And I just want to see.
Yeah, let me publish this to the web real quick. I'm gonna move the link to our like community page, but for now, I'll just dump it in here. Let me move. I'll move it in a little bit and then show the update. I'll put it on GitHub as well. That way it's like not buried in Notion. Okay, thanks guys. Good meeting. Bye.